But here's the one thing about the election that I want you to take away, and that is that voter turnout was horrible. 60.4% of eligible voters in America voted in 2004, 62.3% in 2008. This election, only 57.5% showed up. That means 93 million eligible citizens didn't even bother to vote. And 5 million less people voted in 2012 than they did in 2008. Somehow or another, more of the people in America, 5 million less, found it important to show up. That doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, if you're like me, and I think you are, I've never been more connected and informed in my life. In the last 10 years, I think I've learned more than any other period in my life because we had to. I think we feel defeated right now because we feel like we can't change anything. So why bother? We can't raise the white flag, we know that. But is this making any difference, we say to ourselves in the quiet hours of our life? We're just talking to the same people. It's the same group of people, and the people are getting smaller. We have to get new people in. We're preaching to the choir, and the choir gets it. I got news for you. We're not going to bring new people in with just anti-Obama stuff. That's why Bush lost in 2004, or Kerry lost in 2004. The left had everything going for them on paper. An unpopular president, media lining up to bash Bush, Hollywood, and they lost. How is that happening? Because they weren't for something, they were just against something. We have to present the solution. We have to show the people a way out and lead. My goal is this, that when you watch the news and you don't know what to do or how to do it all or how it all works, that you just, instead of getting frustrated, you just say that simple word, yet. I don't understand it yet. I don't know how to make this work yet. I don't know how to get more people to pay attention yet. I don't know where to find the answer yet. Last night, my bride in my life, Tanya, came into my office, and it was, I don't know, about 11 o'clock. And she said, "What are you working on?" And I was working on that. I had an enormous piece of butcher paper that I just kept rolling out on my desk. And it was all of that. And it was really something that I didn't plan on sharing with you, because this is, for me, this is how I was trying to figure out, what am I supposed to do? What do you want from me? You keep giving me these things to do, and I don't know how to do them yet. The things that I'm supposed to... This is just the insane list of the things that I feel I'm supposed to do. Build a network, free from special interest or pressures. Change the culture through media and music and art, entertainment. Prepare families. Be a better dad. Help people be a better dad. I suck at being a dad. Be prepared. Everybody says to me, "You are so prepared." Are you kidding me? I've done the checklist, man, but I am busy with other things like connect parties with principles, connect people of faith. Do you know how impossible that has been? Israel, warn, awaken the people. Reform, rebuild, education. Are you kidding me? Reform education? How am I supposed to do that? Protect liberty. Work on energy. Restore, remember the Constitution. Teach people how to dream and believe in things again. Teach critical thinking. Those are the things on my to-do list. Whew. You want to feel like a failure? Have that as your to-do list. I don't know how to do any of those things yet. But because of the clarifying power of children, I realized this weekend that all of those things are possible but not if we lose focus on family. Not if we lose focus on the power of the individual. Our responsibility as an individual, as a parent, as a spouse, as a family. The eye-opening baptism of my son this weekend, it hit me. I've relied on God to compensate for my shortcomings as a dad far too much. I have lost touch in subtle ways. You know, when you're standing there in the water with your 8-year-old, this is what comes to you. My gosh, he's 8. He's 8. There's not a lot of time left. And you realize that why you don't necessarily suck as a parent. You suck. Because you've lost touch in so many ways, because you've gotten busy. And you've lost touch with your family. And when I say family, strangely, we don't know each other, but I consider you my family. And I have thought about you an awful lot lately, because I feel like I've lost connection in some ways with you as well. When I used to do book signings, earlier in my career, there'd be about 50 people that would show up. Wasn't exactly an ego boost that I wanted at the time, but it was a blessing. This is actually one where a lot of people were showing up early on in my career. I remember one at Fort Wayne, Indiana, where I put out The Real American. Literally 25 or 40 people showed up, and we had time, and we sat there and we chat. I had time to talk to people who had taken time out of their lives to buy a book and say hello. And it was amazing. Old women would make jam, and I'd bring it home, and these were in the days when we'd actually eat it, because we didn't have to have security or worry about any of those things. We were family. And a lot of amazing things have happened to me. Earlier this year, I threw my back out. If you watch this program, you remember this episode. But there was one listener that noticed the blanket that I was using. A quilt. It was made for me and my wife by a viewer of this program when I was on Fox. She gave it to me years ago. I saw her just recently. Someplace, I don't even remember what state or where I was, but she said, I can't tell you what it meant to know that you used that. And I said, I can't tell you what it meant to us that you made it for us. Of course we use it. A few years ago, I was doing the Christmas sweater. A sweet lady came up to me. She was in San Diego. And she said, I want to make you a Christmas sweater. What should it look like? Well, that was years ago. This spring, I was in one of the shows we did in San Diego. And one of the people on the show said, there's a woman here. She said she made a sweater for you. I instantly knew who she was. And I said, my gosh, yes. And she told me, she came backstage and she said, I had several eye surgeries since then, but I finished your Christmas sweater. It has taken her years to make it. My Christmas sweater. The time you take to spend with this program and the ways that you go about showing your support makes a difference. No matter how big or how small the gesture. People say, I don't know if I make a difference. I want you to know, if you make the difference in only one person's life, it's worth it. And you've made a difference in mine. The task at hand can feel overwhelming because we most likely are parents. And we are navigating a world and trying to keep our children, trying to hide some of the things that we worry about at night, the boogeymen in our lives. We're trying to figure out how to pay for the gifts that are going to be under the tree in just a few weeks, or should be under the tree, or how to explain to our children that Santa couldn't bring everything this year. We're trying to learn ourselves and then teach. We're trying to love when so many times we're filled with anger and rage. We love our country and we don't even understand it anymore. We want to save it from extinction, and yet we can't understand why we feel so alone. And we wonder if we're wasting time at the expense of being with our family, or at least doing the things we want to do. None of us planned our lives this way. And so we get to a milestone, like the election, where we can judge. And then we get to another milestone, like a baptism, where we can judge and we say, have we traded one milestone for another, and a milestone that never comes back? I don't know how to do all of these things yet. But I will tell you that the individual is the answer. When I wrote Agenda 21, we worked on it over the summer. It's an amazing book, and I want to introduce you to the woman who made a difference in my life, because she's the one who wrote 99% of this book. I shaped it in the end. And she did it because I affected her. She did her own homework, and then she decided, I've got to do something. But the reason why this book is important is because it's all about changing something locally. Doing something. You can change this because it's local. I'm going on the road this week to do book tour stops. I'm leaving my family once again. And I'm going to do 15 cities in 3 days. I haven't done that in I don't know how long. This book is important because, as the plank in the GOP platform says, it is a danger and a threat to our sovereignty. Would I rather be at home with the kids? Yes. But I'm glad to know that I will be with family. I don't know if we're going to get the chance to chat like we did in the old days, when it was just a few of us hanging out at the bookstore. But even the short amount of time that we'll get to see each other is important to me. And I hope that you will feel my gratitude when we meet. A good friend of mine, Marcus Luttrell, had a tough weekend. He lost a fellow SEAL this weekend. He had a wedding in his family and a death in his family. I think of Marcus all the time. We don't talk very often. We talked this weekend, but I think of him often because he has a simple saying: never quit. Never quit. I hope you haven't unplugged, because there's a lot of work to do. We may feel wounded or disorganized, a little bit dazed or confused, but we're just getting started, and we win in the end. More in a minute.